Please introduce yourself.
My name is Nancy Currey, and I am a potter.
And tell me about your favorite medium.
Oh yeah, let's see. There are two in the potter's world that I'm interested in. One is porcelain, and the other is stoneware. And porcelain is super cool because it is a medium that can go all the way to translucent, which is really cool. So you can stretch it. It allows you to stretch it thin. So as far as, I guess shits and giggles as a ceramist, you want to push materials to their furthest end. And so, to be able to see through clay is kind of neat. And it looks great glazed because it's white and everything pops on it. And it looks great naked because it's frickin' translucent, and that's really cool. Stoneware is neat because for almost the opposite reason. So stoneware is like, it's earth, right? It's like what you play in as a kid. And when it's got interesting elements in it, which it usually does, like rust, like iron, it'll spit. So it'll look like that, that 70s look of like little spots. And that's why I like those.
How did you fall in love with pottery?
It was a combination of like pride and ego, if those are separate, because I went to my friend's house and she said, get yourself a cup from her cupboard. And her cupboard was full of her wonky ceramics. And I was about 20 or something, maybe 26 actually. And I was like filled with adrenaline, like, no way, you've got your own pottery in your own cupboard, and that is just really neat. And I really want to leave your lovely presence right now and like find out how to get a wheel and make my own, because I want mine. Since then, I do have some pieces along with IKEA in my cupboards, but my interest has changed.
What sets you apart from other ceramicists?
High failure rate in the kiln, I would argue, and eclectic style. And they kind of go hand in hand because I'm very compulsive as an artist, and it sounds like a backwards, it's kind of a backwards compliment in a way, because I'm willing to push the clay to its end. And that kind of goes in direct conflict with how I was taught, which is also very cool. There's so much to say on this subject. I'm gonna try to stay on task here. I was trained, and I think it's absolutely accurate, in sort of the Japanese style, which is like, the less throws, the better, because the piece is alive. And so for a long time I did that. I didn't have a few throws. By throwing, I mean like bringing up your walls, right? So I tried that, but then I stopped doing that because I like to nitpick. I like to poke and prod after I've pulled up. That's where the fun, like the conversation for me with the clay does not stop at like 3 pulls, you're done. And so I, at some point, gave myself liberty to do whatever the hell I wanted, and that was super fun. Okay, so I think I've lost my track though.
What sets you apart from other artists is the question.
Right, so high failure rate is involved in kind of pushing it to its limits. So there, for example, with porcelain, if you go really thin like this, I made about 5 of these, but I lost 2 because I've only made 5. I don't do it like in production version. I did 5 at the same time, and 2 of them cracked, and so you're out of luck. Oh, and then the other aspect is eclecticism, because I'm like, I love looking at Pinterest and finding amazing stuff, And there's just, it's all been done. It's been done so beautifully since like 29,000 BCE that it's like, you know, whatever, it's all open. But, so like I get inspired by different artists all the time. And so this is like Arne Aase, who's like a Norwegian guy. He uses water-soluble metal salts. So I played with that for a little bit. And then this one is more like Hans Koper, who was a friend of Lucy Ree's, and they worked together in the studio together. And she's one of my favorites. Am I going off track here?
No, it's perfect.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right, so this is sort of Lucy Ree also. She was inspired by, she was told by the dudes in England. She came from Austria, but they were all making kind of thick stuff, probably in the Japanese style. And they were saying, your stuff is too thin. Like, what are you doing with your thin stuff? And she said, oh, okay, I'll do thick. And then she went back to her own stuff. And of course now, who we yearn for is Lucy Ree and her pots. So this is kind of an homage to Lucy Ree. She would, you know, fight gravity and make things thin. This is stoneware, so it's not super thin. But where am I going with that? I'm not sure. She would, I don't think she ever did such a bland ceramic glaze on here. She would do like lots of interesting, very detailed stuff. But the point is, I guess, is that you have to kind of find your own way, and that you can continue the conversation until, I guess, the piece is, well, close to dead, frankly. This is Rupert Spira, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to paraphrase right. When you're a potter making a pot, and you're extending a plane of clay into 3 dimensions, so that it contains space and is then contained by space. And you know this because you introduced me to Rupert Spira. And that vessel somehow, you know, makes somebody kind of stop the chatter long enough to consider something that's sort of timeless. It's kind of a space and time healing, I guess. It's special. It's special to think that, you know, somebody has this as their favorite, you know, like, and then they get to hold it, and it takes down the boundaries for a little while they're drinking from it.